10 years later, she returned and was shocked by what he had accomplished without her after abandoning him and their 5 kids. Stay tuned. You won't believe what she discovered. Also, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Darius Miller always valued family. He wasn't perfect, but he made an effort. For years, he thought that was sufficient until one morning, he woke up to find Alicia gone. There was no warning, no argument the night before. Just a folded piece of paper on the kitchen counter with 7 haunting words. I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. She didn't just walk out on him. She left them. 5 children, Micah, Jaden, Isla, and the 2 youngest who were too little to grasp what being abandoned meant. One was still in diapers. The other had only recently started kindergarten. The silence in the house that day was deafening. The kids asked questions he couldn't answer. Where's Mommy? Did we do something wrong? He didn't know how to reply, so he told a lie. He said she needed time, that she loved them, and that she'd be back. But days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months without Alicia's return. What followed was chaos. Darius had to leave one of his 2 jobs because even childcare alone cost more than his paycheck. He barely slept, burned dinners, and forgot permission slips. Yet, somehow, they managed to survive. Each day started at 5 a.m., while the world was still at rest. He poured himself a cup of coffee in the same chipped mug Alicia used to cherish. That mug became a reminder not of her, but of the life he was determined to keep from falling apart. By 6:30, the kitchen was bustling with activity, pancakes flipping, kids bickering over bathroom turns, Isla crying over a missing sock. He never found the time to finish his coffee, but the sound of their laughter, when it finally came, meant everything. At the construction site, Darius found an odd sense of peace. The clanging of tools and roaring machines drowned out the anxieties in his mind. His supervisor, Harold, often shook his head in disbelief, saying, 5 kids and you're still standing, man. Darius would simply smile. No one knew he sometimes shed tears in his truck during lunch breaks. Micah, his eldest, became his right hand, maturing far too quickly as he stepped into the role Alicia had vacated. Micah helped with dinner, managed the younger siblings, and never complained. But Darius noticed the strain, the quiet glances, the tired eyes. Some nights, Darius wondered how he could keep going, when he had no idea how to pay the bills, or how to face another parent-teacher conference alone. But every time Isla wrapped her arms around him and whispered, I love you, Daddy, he found the strength to push through another day. And he fought fiercely. He missed weddings, birthdays, and promotions. While others were climbing their careers, he was constructing a home from scratch. While his peers ascended ladders, he was holding hands at school drop-offs and wiping noses at bedtime. Then, 10 years after Alicia vanished, everything shifted yet again. It was just another Thursday when he got home, kicked off his boots, and sorted through the usual stack of mail, bills, junk, school flyers. And then he spotted it, a letter. No return address, but the handwriting unmistakably belonged to Alicia. His heart halted, breath caught in his throat. 10 years, 10 birthdays, 10 Christmases, 10 first days of school, all without her. Now here she was, reaching out. He didn't open the letter. Not yet. He stared at it while his children filled the kitchen behind him, laughing, yelling, and arguing over who got the last slice of pizza. The life he had built without her suddenly felt under threat. That letter remained sealed for days. Darius kept it tucked in his jacket pocket, close enough to feel but distant enough to ignore. At work, he felt it pressing against his chest every time he bent down to lift a beam or reach for a tool. He'd consider opening it, then shake the thought away. He wasn't ready yet. Then came another surprise. Late Friday afternoon, Harold called him into the site office. Darius, close the door, he said with a grin. I've got news. Darius stepped inside, brushing dust from his hands. "We've been watching you for a long time," Harold began. "You're consistent, reliable, quiet strength. We want to offer you the lead foreman position." Darius blinked. The promotion meant more money, a salary that could finally help Micah with college, cover braces for Jaden, maybe even replace their rusted van. It was the kind of offer he had dreamed about on nights when the power was nearly cut off. But Harold wasn't finished. "It'll mean longer hours, some Saturdays, a few overnights, more meetings, more responsibility." Darius nodded slowly. He understood what that entailed: less time at home, more missed dinners, more parent-teacher conferences alone, and additional pressure on Micah to fill the gaps. He didn't respond right away. That night, he sat across from Micah at the kitchen table. The others had gone to bed. Layla's favorite stuffed bear lay forgotten on the couch as the kitchen finally settled into quiet. "I was offered a promotion today," Darius said, watching Micah's face. Their eyes widened. "That's amazing, right?" "It is," Darius replied. "But it also means I'll be around less." Micah paused, then offered a small smile. "We'll make it work, Dad. You always have." It was said with confidence, yet Darius could see the burden behind those words. Micah had been holding this family together just as long as he had. Later that night, alone in his room, Darius finally opened the letter. It began like a confession. Alicia stated she had made mistakes, that she was overwhelmed back then, and that walking out hadn't been planned. It was an act of panic. She spoke about therapy, about faith, about rebuilding her life. And then came the real message: "I want to see the kids. I've changed. I want to be a part of their lives again. If you can forgive me, I hope they can too." Darius stared at the page, fingers curling around its edges. Forgiveness for the birthdays she had missed, for the night terrors Isla used to have, for the tears Micah had never shown to anyone, and for the shame Jaden felt when classmates asked why his mom never attended school events. She wanted another chance, but she had never even inquired about the cost of her absence. Darius folded the letter and set it on the table. He couldn't decide anything, not yet. His kids had a right to know, and more than that, they had the right to choose. But deep down, something inside him had already shifted, and this time, he wouldn't let emotions cloud his judgment. He had protected them for a decade, and he wasn't about to stop now. The letter sat on the dining table for 2 days, untouched but not ignored. Micah eyed it every time they passed by. Jaden once asked if it was important. Darius said yes, but not yet. He needed the right moment, not when the dishwasher was broken, not when Nia had the flu, not when he was too drained to speak clearly. Finally, on Sunday evening, he made the call. Dinner was quiet. Layla drew shapes in her mashed potatoes. Jaden discussed a class project, and the two youngest giggled over a spilled cup of juice. Darius said little. Once the plates were cleared, he remained seated. "Kids," he began, with a steady voice, "there's something I need to share with you." Micah tensed immediately as he picked up the letter and held it up. "This came in the mail last week. It's from your mother." Silence fell. No breath. No blink. "She says she wants to see you. Says she's changed. Says she's sorry." He didn't sugarcoat it. He read the letter aloud, word for word. His voice didn't quaver, but his hands did. When he finished, he looked up to find Micah's face had become pale and their jaws clenched. "Why now?" they asked flatly. "Why not 10 years ago, when we needed her?" Jaden stared at the table, furrowing his eyebrows. "Is she really coming back?" The youngest two stayed quiet. Isla curled in her chair as if trying to disappear. Darius nodded slowly. "She reached out, but nothing's decided. I wanted you to hear it first because this affects all of us. We're not a hotel she can just check back into," Micah stated sharply, and no one dared to respond. Later that night, Darius found Micah in the hallway, staring at a photo on the wall, a picture from 5 years ago. All 6 of them in matching holiday pajamas. She wasn't there, Micah said quietly. I know, Darius replied. I don't remember the sound of her voice anymore. He didn't know what to say, so he stood beside them in silence. In the following days, everything felt off. Isla cried at school without explanation. Jaden kept asking questions Darius couldn't answer. Even the 2 youngest, typically full of laughter, were quieter than usual. The weight of Alicia's letter spread through the house like a storm cloud, quiet, looming, heavy. One night as Darius tucked in Isla, she whispered, "Does Mommy still love us?" His heart shattered. "I think she does," he answered. "But love isn't always enough." Isla blinked up at him. "Are you going to let her come back?" "I don't know," he admitted, "but I promise I won't do anything without you." And he meant it, because after a decade of holding this family together, Darius wouldn't allow the past to tear them apart. With each passing day, the house felt heavier. Micah had grown silent. Jaden was restless. And Isla, who hadn't had nightmares in years, sought refuge in Darius's bed at night without a word. Even the air between them felt uncertain. At the construction site, Darius attempted to keep his focus but dropped tools, misread measurements, and found himself staring into empty space for too long. Harold noticed. "Are you all right?" he asked, pulling Darius aside. After a pause, Darius finally shared. Their mom reached out after 10 years. Says she wants to come back. Harold raised an eyebrow. After 10 years, what does she want? That's what I'm trying to figure out, Darius replied. Harold didn't press, only offered one quiet piece of advice. Whatever you do, protect your peace. That night, Darius sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at Alicia's letter once more. The words hadn't changed, but the weight they left behind had only grown heavier. He called a lawyer the next morning. After hearing everything, Alicia's disappearance, the letter, the emotional toll, the lawyer laid it out plainly. You've had sole custody for a decade. She has no rights unless a court grants them back. But if she pushes, you'll need to be prepared. It was all Darius needed to hear. Back home, Micah had already taken an initiative. I found her, they said, sliding a phone across the table. Darius leaned in, and there she was, Alicia on social media, smiling in pictures with strangers. But her captions told a different narrative, financial help needed for second chances. Darius's heart sank. She's not returning for us, Micah quietly stated. She's coming back because she's sinking. Darius stared at the screen, jaw tight. This wasn't about redemption. It was about survival. The next day, he enlisted a private investigator. I want the truth, he instructed. No speculation. No gaps, just facts. The investigator nodded. You'll have it. That evening, Jaden approached him. Dad, if she wants to take us, can she? Darius replied without hesitation. No. But what if she tries? Jaden inquired. Darius crouched down, locking eyes with him. She left. I didn't. And I won't let anyone undo what we've built. He meant it. Later that night, he watched his 5 children sleeping, Micah still propped up with a textbook, Jaden tangled in sheets, Isla clutching her stuffed bear. He had held this family together through everything, and now that Alicia wanted back in, he would do whatever it took to keep them safe. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. Darius didn't recognize the number, but something urged him to answer. The moment he picked up, a familiar voice, soft and uncertain, said his name. Darius, it's me. His grip tightened on the phone. Alicia. She got straight to the point. I just want to see them. That's all. One meeting, please. There was no apology this time, just desperation. Darius didn't respond immediately. He allowed her words to linger in the silence before finally speaking. If they don't want to see you, it ends there. No pressure. No surprises. She hesitated before responding. Okay. He chose the location himself, a public park, someplace neutral where there would be room to leave if need be. Micah didn't say much when he told them. They only nodded, jaw clenched. Jaden voiced the question everyone was afraid to ask. Do we have to go? You don't, Darius clarified. No one's forcing anything. But they all agreed. They needed to know. On the day of the meeting, the weather mirrored the mood. Gray skies hung overhead, not quite raining, but chilly enough to be uncomfortable. Darius stood by the duck pond with all 5 children alongside him. When Alicia finally arrived, she looked nothing like the woman who had left 10 years ago. Her hair was pulled back, her coat too thin for the weather. She appeared older, tired, and hollowed. She approached slowly, eyes on the children. I've missed you all, she said, her voice trembling. None of them moved. Micah crossed their arms. Jaden stared at the ground, and Isla clutched Darius's hand tightly, hiding half behind his leg. Alicia continued talking, mentioning feelings of being lost, rediscovering herself, and how hard life had been. Yet her words felt hollow. They seemed to bounce off the years of absence like rain off a roof. Then, Micah stepped forward. What do you expect from us now? They asked, honesty shining through. Alicia had no response. The meeting didn't prolong. There weren't any hugs or tears, just a heavy silence broken by the quiet sounds of ducks on the pond. As they turned to leave, Alicia whispered, I hope you'll let me try. But no one answered. Once home, the ride was quiet. The kids didn't bicker, and no one reached for the music. The silence spoke volumes. That night, Darius sat on the edge of his bed while Micah stood in the doorway. She didn't even ask how we've been. They noted. Darius nodded. I'm proud of you, he replied. All of you. Because whatever Alicia had hoped for, it was far from this. They were not the same kids she had abandoned. And this time, they wouldn't be broken. The silence following the park meeting didn't dissipate. At dinner, no one mentioned Alicia, but the weight of that encounter lingered in every glance and each pause between bites. Even Isla, usually a fountain of questions, remained mute. Micah scrolled through their phone while the others finished eating, appearing as though she needed something. She muttered, not like someone who came back for love. Darius didn't reply, for deep in his heart, he had begun to believe the same. 3 days later, the call came from the private investigator. I've got something, he said. You might want to sit down. Darius braced himself as the man spoke plainly. Alicia is in debt, deep debt. Credit cards maxed out. 2 lawsuits pending. An eviction notice filed 6 weeks ago. She's been in and out of jobs, most of which lasted less than a year. And that GoFundMe page Micah had found? It's real and barely keeping her afloat. But that wasn't all. She's mentioned your name, the investigator added. To friends. To online forums. It's clear she thinks reconnecting with the kids might solve her issues. Darius leaned back in his chair, the phone still pressed to his ear. There it was, not a second chance at family but a lifeline. He hung up, the knot in his chest unraveling into something colder, clarity. That evening, he called a family meeting. The kids gathered around the table, the atmosphere still delicate. Darius presented the report, allowing them to see the reality themselves. I wanted you to understand what's truly going on, he said. No secrets, no pretending. Micah read silently. Jaden flipped through the pages with widening eyes, and the younger ones leaned into Darius's side. She's in trouble, Micah remarked quietly. Yes, Darius replied, but not for the reasons she claimed. Isla looked up, her voice soft. So, she's not coming back because she loves us? No, sweetheart, Darius said. wrapping an arm around her. She returned because she needed something. But this time, we don't owe her anything. A long silence followed. The air felt still. After reading the report, the kids didn't ask more questions. They didn't need to. The truth had landed. Alicia hadn't returned for reconciliation. She had come back for rescue. And Darius had made his decision. Later that night, after the others had gone to bed, he walked into his room, opened the top drawer of his desk, and pulled out a thick envelope he had kept sealed for nearly 3 years. Inside were carefully arranged documents he had built quietly, painstakingly signed. The following evening, he gathered the kids around the dining table again, this time with something to show them. "I've been waiting for the right moment to share this," he said, setting the envelope on the table. Micah raised an eyebrow. Jaden leaned forward as Darius opened it slowly, revealing paperwork with official stamps and signatures. "I've been saving, investing, and planning for each of you. Not just for college, not just for emergencies, but for security." He paused. "I also worked with a lawyer to ensure none of you could ever be taken from me." Micah's eyes narrowed in confusion. "What do you mean?" "I legally adopted all 5 of you." Silence fell over the table. Jaden blinked. Isla's mouth dropped open. Even the youngest 2 sat perfectly still. "I wanted to make it permanent. No loopholes. No custody claims. No surprises." He looked around the table. "You are mine by law, by heart, by every measure that matters." Micah swallowed hard. "You did all that without telling us?" Darius smiled gently. "Because love isn't loud. Sometimes it works quietly in the background, ensuring you're safe even if you don't realize it." Jaden's voice cracked. "You didn't have to, but you did." "I had to," Darius said. "Because you're my family, and I was never going to let anyone take that away from us. Not again." Tears flowed freely then as Isla climbed into his lap, and Micah reached across the table, squeezing his hand. That moment didn't need music or fanfare. It was everything they had been missing for 10 years. Certainty, not the kind spoken, but the kind proven. In the following weeks, peace finally returned to the Miller home. Micah visited colleges. Jaden joined the soccer team, and Isla resumed dance class. The younger 2 filled the house with laughter again. For the first time in years, they were liberated to dream without the fear of disruption. One evening, Darius brought out the last of the legal documents. He had finalized every safeguard, the adoption complete, finances secured, and their future protected. His promise to them had become permanent. Then a letter arrived, bearing Alicia's handwriting. It was brief, apologetic, and honest. She admitted coming back out of desperation, not love. She stated that she understood now and that she wouldn't reach out again. Darius chose not to respond. Through a mutual friend, he later discovered she had relocated, secured a job through a support program, and was attempting to rebuild her life independently. It was the end. The door she left ajar had quietly closed. Back at home, everything felt lighter. Movie nights returned. Laughter echoed in every room, and when one night Micah stood in the kitchen and said, "You saved us," Darius merely shook his head. "No," he replied. "We saved each other." And together, they kept moving forward, stronger, wiser, and unshaken. Because this was not the family Alicia had left behind. This was the family Darius had built. Darius didn't just raise 5 kids alone. He constructed a foundation for them to stand on for life. Through heartbreak, sacrifice, and quiet strength. He showed that love isn't measured by grand gestures but by showing up every single day. He didn't seek recognition. He just wanted them whole, safe, and free. In the end, he granted his children what their mother never could: security without conditions and love without limits. Now let me ask you, what would you do if someone from your past suddenly returned after years of silence? Asking for a second chance? Tell us in the comments if this story touched you. inspired you, or reminded you of the power of family. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories just like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.